Monday, July 22nd, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here's some of the topics we're covering today. ASUS is making the news with their new ROG Republic of Gamers gaming phone featuring a 6,000 milliamp battery, a 120 Hz AMOLED screen, and much more. And we have some guests joining us today, including Sean McGinley, the co-founder of Empowered Eyewear, a company that brings you customizable glasses with different colors and designs, and Frederick Thomason, the CEO and founder of Konsus, a company that brings your businesses, large or small, instant access to full-service design teams all online. And the 2019 Hyperloop competition has been completed, a champion has been crowned, and an entirely new and more complex gauntlet has been thrown down for next year from Elon Musk. All that and more on today's Digital Trends Live. Portland, Oregon, summer has finally arrived here.
Yay, not a bad start to the week.
Not too bad. I gotta say, it's normally a little gloomy. We've been pushing that for a while on those opening shots, but now at least, hey, it's some blue skies.
Sun is shining.
Hello everyone, this is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you the trending tech topics of the day, news, headlines, interviews, and discussions, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. Thanks for joining us, whether you're on LinkedIn Live, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Dailymotion, we're on Apple News, we're on 2 different mobile apps, we're on a smart TV app, and we're at digitaltrends.com/live. My goal to say that all in one breath is slowly getting closer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Drop in your comments as we go through the show. We have so much we want to talk about, a lot to bring you up to date on. But first off, I'm Greg Nibbler here with Nicole Rainey. Hello, Nicole.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on this Monday. There's a lot to cover.
There is a lot.
A lot to talk about.
What are we starting with?
Well, let's start off with this. Start off with this trend that's happening right now of apps leaving mobile stores. So there's a bigger story here. I'll tell you specifically what we're talking about, and then we'll talk about it in a bigger picture. But this is what's coming out right now. Tinder is separating from Google Play. I'll tell you why this matters. So Tinder, of course, has their different platforms, in case you don't know, where you can pay for extra things through the app, as most apps do. And the problem has been going through Google Play. Google and Apple has the same thing, where they take a large percentage of subscription fees if you subscribe through the store. So say you're on Tinder, you subscribe for that extra bonus level that they have, and then what Google will do is Google will take 30% of that. That doesn't affect you as a consumer, but that does affect Tinder's bottom line, because 30% is a lot of money.
I was really surprised by that number. Like, I knew that Apple and Google were taking huge chunks out of the money that people made through these in-store purchases.
Yeah.
But I was still blown away by the actual 30%. Like, that's a third of the money.
Third of the money. Like, say you pay $6.99 a month or something, a third of that is going to go to Google. And the bottom line is the bottom line for the companies. So that's where this is a huge issue for them. That's a lot of money. I mean, you can understand why Google and Apple want to keep that going, because that's a huge billions of dollars that they make a year across all of the different apps. And now some of these companies are fighting back against this, and they're taking that payment option out of the store. So you download the app through there for free, but then when you go to make that payment, instead of being able to do it very easily through your app, you would have to go to their website, then sign up, then go back to it. And
yeah, so from a user experience standpoint, it's going to be a little bit different, because usually what happens is you give Google Play your credit card info, right? So it asks you for your number, and then that's it. You don't have to you're not prompted for that again.
Yeah.
Because Google Play stores that information, the app gets that information from Google Play. But now for something like Tinder, you're giving your credit card information directly to Tinder instead.
Yeah. And then so that's one extra level and one other outlet now. I mean, a few different things to consider. Another outlet where your credit card information is stored. And so that's certainly something that could be, as we worry about security, that's all these more people now have to worry about the security. Mm-hmm. They have to take care of that. And I'm sure there's very robust plans in place, I'm sure, for Tinder or big companies like that, but some of the smaller companies that may want to get in on this too, it's something to be concerned with, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, because Tinder already holds a lot of very sensitive information.
True.
I mean, it's literally a dating app, so it has all of your conversations, all of your photos, things like that. So I feel like Tinder may be in a better position to handle the security concerns.
Yeah.
But I'm not on Tinder, but I guess I feel less worried about handing over my credit card information to a service like that. But then on the flip side, like, do I have to do this every time that I want to download a game?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, I'm really excited that
Exactly.
people are like taking their money in their own hands, right? Like they're hopefully going to be earning more off of these purchases.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little concerned about having like you said, like having so many people have my credit card info.
A lot of different people having that. I mean, in this day and age, that's a huge issue. I'm seeing some comments come through. I'm looking at YouTube right now. Stefan says, interesting Google Play Store. It's a growing trend. And it is. It's the same thing with Apple's store as well, where you're seeing these companies take that off. You saw Spotify had a huge issue going on with Apple over, and lawsuits involved over the fact that Apple took so much of their revenue going through it, and then also made it a little more difficult. There's a few things in that one, but just examples of giant companies that are finally saying like, okay, 30% is too much. What do you think? Is 30% too much or not? In the end, you know, this is where it affects us. Like, you know, these companies' bottom line. I mean, out on the outset. Yeah, okay, you know, what do I care whether Spotify, you know, is what you could say, who gets that money because you're paying the same amount. But it does matter because these companies want to make money as well. And if they have to take you off of that, that convenience factor goes away as well. That's another big one.
It affects our user experience because theoretically we'd have to enter our information in several times in one app through multiple apps. And then more importantly, it's a security issue because then so many different retailers and vendors have our credit card info.
Right. And so this is just another example of where this is headed. You know, another major company taking themselves off of that. This is going to continue. We're going to see more and more companies do it. I think probably. I think this is just the beginning of this, and there's going to have to be. I think we're going to see a redesign. My guess, this is just again just my guess. I think Google and Apple are going to have to come to the table and be like, all right, well, we still want a bunch of this money, but how about we do it for this much for so long, and then we cut it?
Yeah, like maybe negotiation or something like that. Something a little bit different rather than just like 30% all the time.
Yeah, because for them it's either 30% or nothing.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to figure that out too. But we'll see how these other companies manage it. I mean, again, it's the convenience factor for us, and this is the power of Google and Apple. Is it's real easy just to go to one of those two stores.
And you have to be somebody like Tinder, I think, to like somebody that's that big in order to pull something like this off. Like Fortnite was another one that was able to work around it. Like you have to be like huge to be able to say, forget you, Google.
Yeah.
I'm doing it my own way.
Well, and that helps out. You know, some of these smaller developers. Again, the store platform, they certainly should get something, I think, out of that. But that helps, you know, a lot of these smaller vendors, a lot of these smaller companies. Like, say you're developing an app. I'm sure we have a lot of app developers that are watching us right now. Like, how do you feel about that if you had a payment platform where they're taking that much money? Maybe there's some way to negotiate it. Although on the other hand, you know, to play the devil's advocate, that also gets you into the hands of a lot of people. So if you just had it going through your website, probably nobody's going to find you. So it's really interesting to see how this is all going to shake out and what this is going to be like for the consumers. But that's what we're seeing right now. So just another company in that growing trend of companies taking their payment services off of the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. So let us know what you think about that. And speaking of letting us know what you think, I think it's time for some Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look at some of the comments and questions that come across our many different platforms. We do this here every weekday. And we do read them. And that's, again, I just always want to remind everybody, unlike those other places, we read the comments and we respond directly to you. So that's what we're about to do. And possibly we'll cry. You know, that's always an issue. You could hear it in my voice there. Josh, regarding Forget Game of Thrones, the first trailer for Netflix's The Witcher is here. Great. Like the GOT crowd needs something new to complain about for the next 8 years.
Well, is he predicting it now that The Witcher's gonna be so good we're gonna have 8 seasons of it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's a big, bold prediction right there. I saw the trailer. It does look like it's fun. I haven't played the Witcher games.
Yeah, I'm not as
or
up to
read the
speed
books.
on the Witcher lore in general. Like I haven't read the books, I haven't played the game or anything, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good to me. I mean, and I think for that lack of Game of Thrones, you know, now that we kind of lost the big fantasy world. So this could be a good filler. I don't know about 8 years though.
And
that's a bold prediction.
If we're going with the Game of Thrones route, we'll like it for 7 years and then we'll complain about it for the 8th year.
Yeah, I already hate the ending. However they ended this thing, it's terrible, and it was
the books were
wrong,
better,
and I could have done a better job with it. Yeah, that's exactly it. All right, Josh. I mean, that's half the fun, right? We have to complain about it if you like it that much. But Josh, thank you for your comment right there on Facebook. Michigan 1777 regarding new Sony WF-1000XM3. People love posting about these comparison videos versus Klipsch T5 versus Sennheiser Momentum Hey, thanks for listening. Great video. We really appreciate your constant updates on all these earbuds and listening to what we want.
Oh.
Thank you.
It's a
You
nice
are welcome.
one.
Yes.
It's a nice comment.
That is a good comment. That's and for YouTube, we appreciate that. So thank you very much, Michigan. We do like to post a lot of those comparison videos. We got a lot to go up, and you can voice your comments. And we like those comments. Those are good ones.
We like the nice comments.
Yes. Dizzy Carr. All right, regarding the new trailer for Star Trek Picard, features a crew of familiar faces. I think I died when 7 of 9 came on screen, but I don't know a single person who subscribes to CBS All Access. Both of those things, accurate statements right there. The new trailer for Picard, if you haven't seen it, I mean, okay, fine, I'll spoil it. It's a trailer. I feel okay spoiling a trailer. Data's back.
Woo!
Data is back in it.
I'm so excited.
7 of 9 is in it.
But you're right. I don't subscribe to CBS All Access.
Yeah.
Like I'm very conflicted right now. Like I definitely want to watch this, but I don't know if I want to sign up for the service.
This may be the thing that finally puts me over the edge with all of these streaming services. Or I'm like, no, I've got too many. But Picard, I mean, and Will Riker's supposedly back. I mean, it's it might
TNG is
do
my
it for me.
favorite, so.
What's that?
I said TNG is my favorite. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's gonna.
I mean, it's seeming like it's going to be a reunion of everybody. I think even Deanna Troy's back in there. Sorry, I could go nerding about this for a while. But Dizzy, yes. I agree when seeing that with 7 of 9, although I didn't watch Voyager as much. But this might get me to subscribe to it. So let me know
Stay
what you
tuned.
think. Yeah, let us know what you think about that. All right, continuing on. Mosim, regarding how to convert M4A files to MP3 format. Are you Jesus? Thanks a lot. Okay. A lot to unravel here. I'm not sure who was hosting this video in particular and whether this is being facetious or they're very excited.
This is more like the YouTube comment that I kind of expect, though.
Yes.
The previous one was really nice. This seems a little bit more spot on. It's kind of confusing. There's a reference I don't get. There's a lot of extra letters and/or exclamation points or punctuation that we don't need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about.
I guess you're welcome.
Yeah. Question mark? Yeah, I think I'll go with that. Yeah, that's a good response there. All right. Well, yes. Are you Jesus? Well, we'll leave it up to debate. So I still don't know who it was that hosted this one. We'll go with that. Christian, regarding Harvard University has a bold new plan to
make Mars more
livable for humans. Stop trying to make Mars livable and devote the money and research to save Earth. I mean, I think everybody's working on that too, but I don't think you can actually just wipe out all the research on Mars. Because here's the thing. Maybe it's too late. Maybe we need to make Mars livable a lot faster.
This is already plan B, Christian. Like, we have to stick with it.
We
can't go back to plan A.
Exactly. When they have, when they make the movie about the exodus from Earth, clearly we have to have somewhere to go.
Yep.
I think this is a good use of it. So again, that's the Harvard research on Mars. All right, that is Read 'em and Weep. This is our daily segment here at Digital Trends where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many different platforms. Let's continue on, bring you up to date with what's trending right now. What's in the news? And this is certainly a trending story. It has to do with a new phone, not from Samsung or Apple or anything like that. This is from ASUS with their gaming phone. So it's a specifically designed gaming phone. They had their first one, the ROG, which stands for Republic of Gamers. It's a whole line of products that ASUS has. Their ROG Phone 2. So this one in particular, we've got a review up at Digital Trends with it. It's kind of a beast.
This is the phone that I pictured that people would have by like 2020. Like when I was a kid, I was like, this is what all phones are gonna look like. It's very futuristic looking. It's super, super powerful. It's kind of big too, which I think is like, as like a kid, I was thinking like, oh, we'll have something like bigger and better and faster.
Yeah,
so
this is how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, this is bigger, better, and faster. I mean, it's 6.59-inch AMOLED screen. With a 19.5 to 9 aspect ratio. It's designed for gaming. And if you are a gamer, from our review, from what Andy Boxall said, this is a pretty amazingly powerful phone.
And what's cool is ASUS took the feedback from the first version and fixed a lot of the things that people didn't like.
Yeah. Yep, so worked on that, fixed that. They've got the volume is apparently 2.5 times the volume over the original phone. So it's got speakers built into it, so it's designed so you can sit there and really be that person on the bus, blasting your game so that everybody can hear you. And then they've got which I was being facetious about that, but they've got the bezels, so bezels make it easier to hold. So it's designed to, when you hold it, it feels good in your hands. You can actually play the games on it. The battery is huge. So this is one of the biggest batteries that's out there with the 6,000 milliamp battery. I mean, it looks like it's a pretty amazing phone.
And so it doesn't always have to appeal to like the hardcore gamers either,
Right.
because you know obviously like if you're really into like mobile gaming, this is going to be perfect for you. But even if you play like maybe a couple hours a week or something like that, then
Yep.
the processor on this thing can like handle all of that. And the display looks so great, the graphics are amazing. Like this thing is cool.
It's pretty badass. So it's got a, let's see, it uses the Zenfone 6's dual lens setup, 48 megapixel main lens, 13 megapixel ultra wide lens, plus a 24 megapixel selfie. I will say, Andy, who did this review, like when a lot of times with these reviews, you go to a specific location, they let you handle it and play around with it. He said he wasn't able to take it outside and give it a full test as far as the camera's concerned. So, you know, we'll have to take that with what the stats are that they gave us, but still pretty cool. They're saying though, price, no exact price, but guessing probably around $1,000, which seems to be the standard for high-end phones now.
So China's going to get this a little bit sooner. So theirs is going to that version is going to come out in like the next couple of days, but we have to wait until September in the States.
Yeah. So if this is what you're wanting, and I want to know, you know, for people out there, are you that hardcore of a mobile gamer that, you know, this is something that you want, that you use? I mean, I do play some mobile games, but nothing that really requires. I don't think I would utilize that, although until I got it in my hands, then.
Yeah, maybe
Actually,
it's one of those things like you didn't know you needed it until you tried it, and then you really need it.
That's what I would be worried about, is that once I got this, then I would be very quickly addicted to some high-end games on there and start playing those.
And then you'll need more accessories too, because
Yep.
I feel like sometimes it's kind of like the Switch situation. It's like, okay, you buy the Switch, but then you need the different controllers that go along with it, and the different, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
the phone is they're thinking like around $1,000, but then all the accessories to be able to like hold it and utilize it, maybe kind of like a Switch or something like that. Those are going to cost more.
Right, and they do have a bunch of those, a lot of accessories. But you can read our full review. We've got it up at Digital Trends, where you can take a look at that and let us know what you think. You know, we just try to keep you up to date on all of this stuff that's coming out. I mean, it does look like it's fun. That's the problem. I don't think I could. I should not have something like that. Like it'll be an issue
Too
for
much
me.
fun.
I'll be sitting at my desk playing that. All right, so that's talking about the ASUS ROG Phone 2. Going on, something else new that's coming out, and I want to bring this up because I think the technology on here is pretty cool. In particular, if you live anywhere where you have potholes that you deal with.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. So this has to do with the 2020 Lincoln Aviator, and we've got a review at Digital Trends as well from our automotive department here. But one thing I wanted to highlight is this. It has adaptive suspension that scans the road for potholes.
So basically, it's kind of like looking ahead. It'll sense if there's like a dip or something like that in the road, and then it automatically adjusts its suspension to sort of lessen the impact to the people in the car.
Yeah, and it's got 12 different sensors on it that monitor things like body motion, acceleration, and braking, as well as road conditions. And they scan the road up to 500 times per second, and they adjust the suspension settings up to 100 times per second. So it's air springs. So it can automatically adjust this anywhere on the car, knowing where a pothole is going to go, because it's scanning this to make that ride that much smoother. That's pretty cool.
So this is interesting too, because this is going to be sort of like a symbol of growth for Lincoln, because a lot of like Lincoln cars are built on like Ford, maybe, you know, something like the Explorer or the Escape or something like that was used as the base, and then they sort of like make it a little bit better for the Lincoln. But Lincoln is like really pushing that sort of not only like higher end luxury, but also like higher end tech and things like that. So this is the 2020 Aviator, and unfortunately, we still have a little while to see how much this is going to cost.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, so we won't
Sure.
we won't have like full launch and pricing information until later this year.
The thing with that, though, with this kind of technology, it's going to be on a high end. You know, and maybe that's, you know, you're in the market for that, but it'll be high end for sure at first. But a couple years from now, that kind of technology will definitely.
Yeah, I
get
think
down to everything.
that's why I'm kind of excited, because this is sort of like a symbol of what hopefully everybody's going to get. And like, I mean, I actually don't know the time frame for these kinds of things, so maybe 2-3 years. That's
Yeah.
what I'm just throwing out there, because I would
Hopefully.
like this.
That would be cool. I mean, we've got the full review at digitaltrends.com, and Adam Kaslikowski and Ronan Glon and Steven, the whole team, they will keep you up to date on everything that goes on with that, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that some more later this week. But I think that's a really cool feature. In particular, you know, selfishly, I live in a neighborhood with a bunch of potholes, even though I'm in a city, so I'm like, yeah, That would be nice.
It would be so nice.
That would be awesome.
I would love to like test it out side by side with a different car.
Yes.
Like a really, really old one too, so you can like see the difference.
Really feel it. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting use of technology. So let us know what you think about that. I do want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us across whatever platform you're watching on LinkedIn Live right now. We've got Zohair from Algeria, Taiwo from New York. We've got Jermaine from South Africa. So all over the place, all over the world, people are joining us right now here at Digital Trends Live. And thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. You can hit that subscribe button and let us know anytime. Okay. Here's some other big announcements, and this was this week, and I want to talk about it because we had Comic-Con this last weekend, which means we find out more about what's going on in the world of entertainment, and in particular, Marvel Phase 4. It's here. So we know what's going forward. We know the next 2 years worth of movies at least. And they had a big announcement, as they usually do at Comic-Con, you know, with Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home kind of wrapping up that Phase 3. That whole Avengers era is now done. And now we see it going forward with what we've got coming next. And it's an interesting place they're going with this. New superheroes, new changes, new focuses. The first one being the Black Widow movie, which is going to be coming out next year. That's the next Marvel movie.
And what's interesting about this too is we're seeing kind of like that first shift towards Disney Plus as well, because a lot of us maybe are familiar with Marvel TV shows because of the Netflix shows, like Daredevil and all that kind of stuff. But then now we're shifting to a different like reign of TV shows. So we're gonna have the Loki show, we're gonna have the Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Yep.
It's just like all these new shows for us, and a lot of them are building upon characters that we've seen in Avengers or some of the previous movies. So it's going to be kind of like a departure from like what we already are used to.
From those other ones. And then these ones will directly tie in with the movies. They said.
Oh, sorry, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The Falcon and
I got
the Winter
it
Soldier, yep. Right there. And then you've got WandaVision. Not as excited about that one, I'll say personally, but still. Some television platforms. Hawkeye's getting one. Thor.
I'm excited about the new Thor movie. Thor is one of my favorites in the Marvel Universe, so that's going to be really cool. And they confirmed Natalie Portman's coming back as Jane Foster, which is going to be pretty interesting.
And that she is going to take over the role of Thor.
Yeah, so I cannot
which is the same in the comics. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going on. And
new Doctor Strange.
New Doctor Strange movie. Shang-Chi, who's going to be the first Asian superhero that they're going to have for the Marvel Universe. Very cool.
Then there's the Eternals, which is also coming next year too. So it's going to be after Black Widow. So that's in the fall of next year. And that's sort of like a new lineup of like a new maybe like superhero crew for us to look forward to. Yeah,
a whole bunch of people cast in that. So that's going to be a huge, giant crew for that. And then again, this is just kind of taking a look at where they're going with this, and it shows the success they've had so far with 20-some movies, and now already have got this new whole slate.
And Blade's back. I forgot. Blade is back. Oh, I can't wait for that one. That's gonna be great.
Mahershala Ali, that guy could do no wrong.
We could just forget Blade 3 ever happened.
Well, it's Blade coming back. There was talk that Wesley Snipes might have some kind of cameo in it, but it's still going to be a few years till we get the Blade movies. And they also hinted at the Fantastic Four maybe coming in, X-Men, because Disney now owns so much. This is what they can do. They own everything now.
And they also teased Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But we don't have any like timeline for any of that. But they at least confirmed that they're working on that.
Those are all on the way as well.
But more importantly, Blade.
Blade is on the way. Mahershala
2021.
Ali, gonna be Blade. So that's all part of this as we go forward, taking a look at what Marvel announced. And we've got a full lineup of everything that's been announced as far as Comic-Con, a lot of entertainment. I mean, it intersects with everything that we do with these streaming television platforms. You look at the power of that Disney Plus is going to be tied directly into these giant, mega million movies, mega millions, billions, I guess, Avengers. Avengers, by the way, Avengers Endgame officially passed Avatar to be the biggest movie of all time.
What? I missed that.
They had to do a little finagling, I feel like, to get that, and some re-releases with some extra footage, but still, nonetheless, they got it. So it's
officially official.
It's officially official. So we'll see where that goes. But that's all part of this, just giving you up to date on what's going on in the world of technology and news and a little entertainment in there as well. So thanks for tuning in. We have more coming up, though. But first off, Nicole, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Always nice. And here's what we're going to be talking about coming up next. Ooh, we're going to be discussing some specific eyewear. So we have Sean McGinley, the co-founder of Empowered Eyewear, who's going to be joining us. It's interchangeable eyewear where you can finally customize things, and we're going to have him kind of walk us through that and discuss what that platform is and why it's pretty awesome. And we've got lots more to discuss, and that is all going to be right here on whatever platform you're watching. So thanks for joining us. Drop in your comments, your questions. We'll take a break. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thanks for joining us. So if this is your first time finding us, I want to let you know we're live every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. So hit the subscribe button. That way you get the notification when we do go live. And we do love to discuss technology. We like to talk about cutting edge things on here. And we'd like to talk about companies that are doing things a little bit different. And that's what we're going to be talking about right now. We have a guest joining us. We have Sean McGinley, who is the co-founder of Empowered Eyewear. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us here today. Excited to talk about this and what you've launched, and to give everybody just kind of a background to get up to speed on everything. Can we talk about your kind of background in this, what led you to want to co-found this company, and then we'll talk about Empowered Eyewear in general.
Sure. Well, glad to be here. So this all came about from my daughter taking a shopping trip. She was excited to go get her a new set of frames, and they were gone. Her and my wife were gone for about 4 hours. And when they got back, she was empty-handed and frustrated. And it was all because she couldn't find the frame that she liked. And it hit me that I found that amazing that there was nothing out there that allowed for the changing of any one frame over the course of a year or during the cycle of when insurance would pay for it next time. So I came up with a solution that allows you to easily and quickly change prescription lenses into one of 8 colored frames that we have, 4 styles with each having 8 colors. So you're going to be able to accessorize eyewear finally, like you do your belts, your shoes, and do so in a very easy fashion with lustrous colors made from premium acetate, keeping that fashionable look intact.
You know, it does seem strange that in this era of customization, where we have so many different options in a lot of different areas, that this was an area that wasn't happening in. So you start off, you're like, okay, we need to come up with a solution for that. What was your first step? And let's kind of walk through maybe some of the technology behind this that allows you to do that.
So yeah, starting out, the one thing I wanted to make sure we did was to keep that fashion elements intact, right? Not have the frames look any different than they do today. And so the first thing I did was a massive search online for any technology or capability like this, and I didn't find any. So then we went into the patent process, and we got that working, and that took some time. But we do have a patent, and that's a utility patent that we're keeping for the next 20 years, which is good. And then we used neodymium magnets, as well as a fastener on the backside bar, which is the clicks bar. And that allows you to easily change and also to house the lens safely and move about one of 8 frames within each style. So it was, it took time. We've been going at this for about 5 years. And, you know, you try one way, try another, and we finally found something that worked. And that's what we have today. So it's exciting, and but it did take time. But we have a beautiful product. We're getting great feedback, and people are excited about it.
When you talk about the different designs that you have, which is great. I mean, just seeing it how it worked there. We are just showing the video how it all clicks together. What was your inspiration for the different designs? How did you decide on that part of it?
Family. My wife helped with colors. We did a lot of research on the web to see what was big. Tortoise shell being one of the bigger colors that people like, and the styles themselves. We wanted to have a mix of gender neutral as well as women-based glasses, men-based glasses, and so though we have 4 styles, that is going to be growing. But as far as the design process, my family and friends were very helpful in that process, and just doing a lot of research. There's a lot of companies out there selling eyewear, no doubt about it, but we are very unique in what we're doing, and as well as our lens technology.
So you said it took about 5 years to develop it and get this all together, which I can only imagine. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to put that together, let alone just building a business in general, but something brand new, a brand new product. That takes a lot of R&D. And so now that you've got this out there, what's the adoption rate right now? Maybe how far spread is this if somebody wants to get it, and then we'll take a look at the future as well.
Sure. So we started, we launched on Father's Day. And we are e-commerce right now only. We have strategic partnerships in place, so we're building brand awareness, and sales have been going up, as well as our page likes, monitoring Facebook, Instagram, some of the key social media platforms out there to see how we are trending and doing, and things are looking good. We've got to get our messaging out there to a broader audience, especially with the lens technology. We're also a disruptor in the lens technology in the sense that casting lens technology is something that is being done here now in the U.S. with our partner Vision Dynamics. We're bringing sun lenses back into the U.S., the manufacturing of sun lenses. That's something that's been overseas in Asia and Europe for quite some time. So our lenses are as unique as our frames are. And I guess that sums up your question. I tend to keep going, so I apologize.
No, not at all. You're excited about your product. I mean, you should be. I mean, you put a lot of work into this, and so now, like, say if somebody's out there, they're getting a prescription. How do they utilize it? Do they go to your site first, or do they go to wherever they're getting their lenses and say, "Hey, no, I want you to pick up these ones"? How does that work from a consumer standpoint?
Good question. So we take care of everything on the website. So when you have your prescription. Or even if you just want fashion frames, which I didn't know at the time, but a lot of people are doing. They are just having plain lenses into their glasses, and they wear them as a form of expression and fashion. But you go to our website, empoweredeyewear.com, and you go right to the frames, and you can choose from our 4 styles.
Nice.
You can also work. So once that's chosen, you go to the prescription type, and you can choose single vision, progressive. We also offer up sun lenses, blue light lenses, and light adaptive lenses. Once you've chosen the frame that you like, we're also going to give you one for free. We want you to start utilizing the frames as they should be, having an array of different frames to choose from. And once you do that, you upload your prescription. And if you need to, you can also take or get your pupillary distance measured. That's not something it doesn't seem to be added onto the prescription often, but it's something that's needed, especially with the progressive line. So everything can be taken care of right off of our website.
Nice. And I know, just before we wrap up, I know there was something else I wanted to bring up too. It looks like a percentage of your product is donated to a charity. Is that right?
That is correct. Still Brave. And my daughter came to us this Christmas, and she's a teenager now, and I asked what she wanted for Christmas, and she wanted everything that we were going to get for her instead to take the money and give it to Still Brave, which helps kids with cancer fulfill some of the things that they want, gifts and things of that nature, backpacks, and it's just a good organization that puts smiles on kids' faces. So we're really excited to be behind them as well.
Well, that's great. I mean, and congratulations on the success so far. You know, with Empowered Eyewear, people want to get involved. They just go straight there to the website and check it all out. Congratulations on disrupting an industry, and you know, and making this dream come true. So, congratulations on that, and thanks for joining us here on Digital Trends Live as well.
You bet. Thank you so much.
So really interesting story right there. Somebody who saw a problem and decided to develop a product and went through all that process, which 5 years, that's a lot of different things that you have to go through to make that happen. And so definitely an interesting story. So thanks to Sean McGinley for joining us for that. We have more coming up on the show today, though. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I know at the end of the show, a lot of what we've been covering is space tourism. We see a lot of space industry news over this last couple of weeks. We're going to talk about what that effect of space tourism actually could have on the environment. So that'll be coming up a little bit later. But next, we're going to have Davin Matthews in here. It's been a couple of weeks. He's going to bring us up to date on some things going on the world of photography and cameras. Also a little bit of space news in there as well. So a lot to cover with that. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And we are back here with Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, as I always say, to make sure you get the notifications when we do go live. And I'm Greg Nibbler, joined now by Davin Matthews. Hello, Davin.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
I know you've been traveling all over the place. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had you in here.
Yeah.
Like the last time you were going to be on here, you got stuck on an island. So that's...
Didn't get stuck this time.
Yeah,
I did get in. I drove home from California, got back at 10 p.m. last night. So that wasn't too bad.
Okay, well, that's at least you're here, not stuck on an island. So let's talk about some news in photography. You know, we have all kinds of articles go up at Digital Trends, but we've got you here to kind of bring us up to date on a couple of stories I know you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to draw attention to a piece that went up over the weekend that Hillary Grigonis wrote on the Hasselblad cameras that were used on the moon. So Digital Trends had a whole series of articles related to the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And it's really interesting. One thing I didn't know is that the cameras they used on the lunar surface stayed there.
Oh, those cameras are still up there?
They're still up there.
You
so
know,
for all the missions that actually landed on the moon, they left behind 2 cameras.
I guess I never thought about that. It'd probably be way easier just to drop it.
Yep.
Take
Because
so
I guess the weight
film out?
requirements are so strict for being able to get back off the moon. So they would take the cameras in, take the film out, take the film backs off, and then just toss them out the window, basically. I don't think it was quite that simple, but yeah, basically that's what they did. And they had to use these very unique cameras that were completely custom made with special film backs that could take like 200 exposures, which for the time was that's a lot, you know, 200 exposures, and now that's, you know, we get more like 2,000 or 20,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's on digitaltrends.com now. Recommend checking it out. And there's also lots of great photos from NASA with that So it's pretty interesting piece of photographic history.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you being the photographer here on the show, talking about this. You know, we had Chris Coos from House of Blood on last week.
Yep.
But from your standpoint, when you see these photos, just from your perspective, like, what does this mean for you? Like, how do these photos affect you?
Well, one thing that's really interesting is that if you talk about how these photos affected the public back in that day, it was pretty huge, and especially when you see like the Earthrise photo and the Blue Marble photo and all those photos that really showed people like, wow, like this is our planet, and it's actually kind of small.
Yeah.
You know? Like we're all down here together, and I think that it has not lost its power today, except for the fact that we kind of grow up seeing these. Yeah. Every year on the anniversary at least.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they're fascinating photos, and to think that they were made not by photographers, but by astronauts who had to do a bunch of other stuff at the same time. And that was another really fascinating part of the story, is how much training they had to go through just for the photography.
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, oh, I'm training to be an astronaut, and now we're going to send you off for a couple weeks to do this photography training.
Well, it shows the importance, though, of photography and how images can shape and affect things. Because like you said, they're doing a bunch of other things. I know myself, I've been at events where I'm like, oh, darn, I forgot to take a picture of that. Like, they can't forget that.
Right,
oh,
exactly.
I forgot to take a picture of the Earth from the moon. Darn it.
Yeah.
That's how important these photos are. Like, this changed everything.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
And they also had, the visual impact, but also one of the cameras, and people are pretty familiar with this, that has the little like crosshatch marks. So it's called a Rizzo plate. So that was actually used to be able to make measurements from the photos, and they could gain some data that way. But yeah, I do. I think it's that photo there, the footprint photo especially. That's one of those that's like, it's an artistic photo, and it's such a simple thing, but it's so powerful. I think. I'm just showing that. Yeah, that's a footprint on the moon.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
And all because that photo was taken and we got it back. And those cameras still up there, apparently. So somebody's going to find those someday. Well, going on from that, I know we want to talk about an actual camera, too.
Yeah.
So
last week, Sony announced the A7R IV, which is, this is starting off their 4th generation of their mirrorless cameras now.
Okay.
And it is a very impressive camera on the spec sheet. I personally have not seen it yet. We do have another writer, David Elrich, who was at the launch event, so he's got the hands-on with it now. So hopefully we'll get that back from him and published as soon as possible. But the big thing with this camera is the sensor. And so with A7Rs, this is always their highest resolution range.
Okay.
And this is the first one in a couple generations that has now upped the megapixel count. So they were at about 42 megapixels. Now they're at 60. And that's not all. I don't. If you remember when I had that Panasonic S1R on the show and we did the unboxing, and I talked about its ridiculous 188 megapixel mode that it could do,
which is just insane. I mean, I don't even know how to picture that.
Well, this is even more insane. So this can now do a 240 megapixel high resolution mode, which is just
like
insane.
a 19 gig file? Like how?
It's going to be a huge file. Yeah, it's going to be a huge file. I don't know how huge. I know with the Panasonic, those were around 300 megabytes for an image, so it's going to be probably more than that. And it creates that by taking 16 images that it composites together.
So they're all stitched together into that.
Yeah. And then, so what we're showing here is the autofocus system as well, which isn't completely new, but it is Sony's latest, what they call the real-time IAF and the real-time tracking. And this uses artificial intelligence to both recognize subjects and then be able to follow those subjects. So it is actually recognizing human faces. It can also recognize animal faces as well. So if you're like a bird or wildlife photographer. But it's one of the most impressive autofocus systems we've ever seen. And the big difference here is that it will now work in video. So they're making it even faster, more accurate. But I don't know any photographers who were like, oh man, if only I had like 15 more megapixels over my 45 that I already had before. So it's, I don't want to discount anything about this camera because it's very impressive technology, and I think the autofocus improvements are pretty good, and I think that there's a lot of stuff it's going to do that it's obviously going to be a great camera. But I just got to wonder, when is this megapixel race going to be done?
I'm just going to keep adding it in and adding it in, and yeah.
You know,
I mean, is there any use case?
You know, I remember I tried to come up with it with
Yeah.
the Panasonic S1R, and it's still the same thing. It's like for the super high resolution modes, there's scientific applications perhaps.
Okay.
I wouldn't even really be the person to ask about that, but I think for like extreme macro photography,
Yeah.
that's one potential. You have to have a very still subject and a very still camera in order for that to work properly. So it's not something you can use in every situation. Even with landscapes, if you have like trees blowing in the wind, it's not going to work so well.
Yeah.
So there's a limited use case for that 240 megapixel mode, but even just the 60 megapixels is.
That's a lot.
Yeah. You know, these aren't game consoles or computers where we can look back 10 years and be like, oh yeah, that could have, you know.
Right.
Obviously, we can see the difference. If you look back at a photo from 10 years ago, it still looks fantastic. If it
Right.
was, you know, a good photographer shooting it and,
Yeah.
and the lighting was good and everything else, good composition. So it's interesting. You know, there are some people who will run out and buy that camera as soon as it's available, and I'm sure they'll be very happy with it. And it's one of those things where, yeah, everything we say about it is going to sound impressive and exciting. But at the end of the day,
Does it take that much better pictures than something else?
right,
Yeah.
it's not going to make you a better photographer.
Yeah, that's true. So how much is this one? How much is it?
So I believe it's starting at 3,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is about, what, in the average range?
That's about
that
what we
high-end
would
camera?
expect for that range. You know, obviously you can get older versions now. They're going to be much more affordable. So that's the other good thing. If you don't need 60 megapixels, you can get the A7R IV, and it'll probably be a lot less money. So.
We did have a question. Is that just the body only for the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lenses, everything.
I'm not
else
sure about what
on top of that.
kits are going to be out yet. Yeah.
What comes with it? Yeah. Okay. Well, again, that's the Sony A7R IV, and we've got the hands-on that's going to be coming out.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So that'll be up in Digital Trends. That you can take a look at, and we also got a feature on the Hasselblad images too, like you said.
Yep, that's up now.
That is up there. So take a look at those. Let us know what you think. Drop in your comments, your questions. Davin, as usual, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Nice to have you back
pleasure.
here. And back in Portland, not stuck on the road somewhere or on an island. So we'll see where he is next week or 2 weeks from now when he's back in here. But right now, we are broadcasting live. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us. Drop in your comments, your questions as we go through. Let us know what you think. I just saw somebody create a lost and found message George did for the lost cameras on the moon. So we'll see if anybody can recover those. Contact Neil and Buzz. All
Probably
right.
Jeff Bezos or someone will get it.
Oh, yeah, you know he will. That's exactly what's going to happen. All right, well, coming up next, we've got Frederick Thomason, the CEO and founder at Konsus, who's going to be joining us to talk about creative design companies and how you can get access to an actual creative design group for a much easier and more affordable way. We'll talk about their platform. We've got all kinds of more things coming up. We do have Georgina who's going to be joining us to talk about one of her articles as well on space and about the environmental impact of space tourism. A lot to cover. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. and welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for being here with us today. Don't forget, we've got 2 apps for your smartphones and an app for your smart television if you want to watch Digital Trends Live that way. But however you're finding us, that's great. We love having discussions here with you. I'm Greg Nibbler, and we're going to have a discussion about how we've seen with technology advancing and different aspects of the internet and different aspects of online technology in particular, we've seen the way that business is changing, the way that we can adapt and the way that we can work with each other is constantly evolving. And we have a company who's at the forefront of that right now. We've got Frederick Thomason, the CEO and founder of Konsus, who's joining us. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us here today. Excited to talk about this and your platform that you have. To give everybody kind of a background, we always like to bring them up to date to make sure that we're on the same page. Could you give us a little bit of your background and maybe what led to you wanting to be involved with this company, wanting to found it, wanting to bring this to the forefront?
Absolutely. So Konsus is an always on-demand design service built specifically for enterprise teams. I worked in McKinsey & Company before starting Konsus and had an amazing internal design solution there. Started another company after McKinsey and didn't have any solution whatsoever. So spent a great deal of time on Upwork and Fiverr and all these platforms trying to find a group of freelancers to help me out. But it was a really challenging process. And I thought, this can't possibly be the future of work. And so, we tried to create our own platform and try to do it better by curating and bringing only top talent to the marketplace.
I think that the future of work, as you mentioned there, just that term in general and just the way that we've seen the workforce evolve and change, over the last few years, you have the gig economy that has had a huge effect on how people work and how they interact with each other. And this now going to the design side, let's talk about how that has changed over the last few years, you being at the forefront of it. How have you seen the design community change?
I think that we've seen much more platforms moving to a vertical approach where people build technology specifically for the design use case instead of the broader marketplaces such as Upwork and Fiverr and those guys doing a horizontal approach. Us, for example, we are building a ton of tech to solve the specific design use case, to automate the way parts of the workflow staff things automatically, and really provide a user experience specifically curated to the design use case instead of trying to do everything at once.
So how have you seen the modern workforce kind of adjust and change with this, with these new, the advent of platforms like yours?
So I don't think we've really seen kind of the biggest changes to come. Bear in mind that all of the work marketplaces combined is still only, in the grander scheme of things, a few $1 billion. I think we are now at the inflection point where really interesting things will start to happen, going from gig economy or future work platforms having maybe 1% of the market today to 10 or 20% over the next 5 years. I mean, remote work is definitely happening and online work platforms are bound to be the winners.
What are some of the, challenges or problems that existed previous to this that are being solved with Konsus?
So I think that the 2 main things that we're working on, or there are 3 main things that we're working on. So firstly, letting people work from home, letting people work when they want to, giving flexibility, that's a huge boon to any worker and something that most everyone really love. Secondly, we put a lot of effort into doing an automated, data-driven and fair recruitment process. We believe that, the future of work will rely much more on data to determine who gets hired and who gets promoted and so on. And that should be a huge benefit to women and minorities and everyone else, simply because, data is treating people more fairly than what people are. And I think thirdly, the big challenge with the gig economy is that people don't have the necessary income security and predictability that they want to have. And we as entrepreneurs have a huge responsibility to try to shape the future of online platforms to be fair and inclusive.
I love that aspect. Yeah, make it fair, inclusive, and successful for everyone, so you can depend on it. Because I think you're right. Sometimes that worry of economic stability when it comes to platforms like this or the gig economy, that's certainly a concern for a lot of people, and that's great that you're working to address some of that. So talking about the platform in general and how this works. So say I've got a business, I'm looking for some design help. What's the next step that I do in association with your company?
So you just go to our website, put in what you need, submit the brief. We start in 30 minutes. One of our creative project managers takes you through the entire process. Depending on your turnaround time, we're able to give things back in 12 hours or less, usually around 24 hours. But really, we're extremely fast. All the people that you're working with are verified top talent. In 2018, we got 42,000 people applying to join Konsus and was able to hire around 100, so about a 0.2% acceptance rate. And so it's really a quite amazing experience. And right now our net promoter score is at 73 for our existing customers, and people are really happy with the way that they get to work with design without suffering all of the pains that you typically get with a team of freelancers.
So you go in there, you say, hey, I'm looking for this. Like you said, you provide your brief, and then one of the teams will come back with that. Do you choose which team you want to work with, or is the team assigned by Konsus?
So the way it works is that we automatically staff a team that gets to that starts working with you immediately.
So on the team side, on your employees, or how that works, or how you are working with these designers, do they all know each other, or is that something that you piece together as well? You're like, we need this person, this person, this person. You're a creative team now. Here's your project.
So we try to structure things as much as possible that people work with people that they know from before and have a good working relationship with. We find that that gives the best possible outcome, as opposed to the freelancer marketplaces where everyone is just by themselves working solo. We really believe that the future of work need to find a way to deliver that team dynamic.
Yeah, I think that's great. So you're working with them to do that. You said you have this staff of people right now. Where are you looking to go in the future? How are you looking to expand, both from your customer base on what you're doing that side, but also on your back end on the design side?
So we will remain squarely focused on the enterprise segment and design for the foreseeable few years. It's a massive space. A lot of people are trying at the same time, and so that will remain our focus. On the sort of design side, we're spending most of our time trying to develop a better experience for our designers, both in terms of how to sign up, in terms of training, in terms of how easy the internal application is to use. With us, basically how it works is that as a designer, you log on, toggle available, and then you start to work immediately. So as opposed to a design agency or a freelancer marketplace where you spend maybe 50% of your time not working, with us that efficiency goes up to around 90%.
That's great. How does pricing work?
So price predictability is hugely important for most of our clients. We have built up a pretty good idea of how long time a specific project should take, and so immediately after you submitted your project, you get a quote. It's based on our project history, and it's somewhere between $35 and around $70 per hour.
Okay, yeah, so that's great though. When you submit it, you're already getting a quote, so have a general idea of what it's going to take to accomplish your marketing goal. Well, it's a very interesting platform, and where's the best place for people to go? Is it just konsus.com to get started on it? Would you suggest that?
Konsus.com, absolutely. You can just go there and check it out. Obviously, our customer success team is more than happy to talk with people if you're after larger setups. Our 20 or so largest clients make up a pretty significant chunk of our business, and we build custom teams for them to solve their specific needs. And we also help out with building the optimal workflows for these internal design teams to help them move even faster.
Well, Frederick, congratulations on the success that you've had so far launching this and where it's going to go in the future. Like you said, it's a huge market space for you to be in. And it sounds like you're really solving some problems that people had, some creativity issues, and really bringing some people together in a new and unique way. And thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. All right, so that very interesting, like seeing a problem, how do you solve it, coming up with a solution, and creating a platform for it. That's some of the stories we like to hear. If you have a story like that you think that we should know about, send us an email at digitaltrends.com. So let's do this. We're going to take a break. We've got more to discuss as usual. We continue on with the show. I'm going to bring you up to date with some news here in just a bit. We do have Georgina who's going to be joining us talking about space tourism. We're broadcasting live on a number of different platforms, so I take a look here as we go through and take a look at your comments. So make sure you get those in there. We have Claire Tompkins, co-founder and CEO of Future Family, who's going to be joining us. A lot to cover, but let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And we are back with more Digital Trends Live. Again, thanks for joining. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate that subscribe button, appreciate sharing the show, dropping in your comments, your questions. It's a lot of fun to do this show every day and bring you up to date with what we know, but then also get your feedback as well. This is an interactive show, and we do enjoy that aspect of it. I'm Greg Nibbler. Let's bring you up to date with some other news. Last week, I talked about how Elon Musk and Hyperloop were having their annual pod race series, which essentially they invite different groups of, generally speaking, students from different universities around the world to compete to develop pods for the Hyperloop. So it's called the Hyperloop Pod Competition. I believe this was the fourth year that this went on. And what happens is each team kind of develops their own little one. They're not full size, but they do represent how this would work. And we're looking at one right there. The Hyperloop could be, if it's finally, if it actually does come to fruition and is developed, could be an amazing transformational technology for our transportation industry. And the way it works right now for this test, they've got about a mile-long test track where they have to put in their pod that they designed. They have to run it down. Speed is the key. Speed is what they're all about right now. You run through it, and then you have to have it stop in time before it reaches the end. That probably wouldn't be good if it just kept on going. So it does have to have some braking mechanisms in there as well. Now the idea is to keep running this up. This year, the group from Munich, from the University of Munich, or Technical University of Munich, and they came up with the fastest one. This is the third year in a row they've won. This one they got to 288 miles per hour, 466 kilometers per hour, that they were able to get their pod to go and then stop before the end of the track. Pretty amazing achievement, actually. And you're looking at some of the videos that go into this beforehand. Each team kind of comes up with their own hype videos and their own animations, their own ways of hyping this up. I'm talking about where this technology can go. And this kind of system would change everything. If you're not familiar with what the Hyperloop could be, it's essentially a vacuum tube where you sit in a car, so people would get into kind of like a modified subway car, we'll say, that would fit less people. And it rockets you through this tube, and you use maglev technology on top of that, and the speeds you can get up are ridiculous. They're saying that in theory, The goal is to get up to about a 760 mile per hour tube. Now, what that would mean for travel is tremendous. You can see this right here. They're showcasing what it could look like in the future for a Hyperloop station if you were to get there. But the speeds are the key. This can change so much. It's better than high-speed rail, better than even flying for the most part, because of where you could get. Now, there would be limited locations because you can't build tubes everywhere, at least not to start off. But one example of this that they tout a lot is the idea of going from LA to San Francisco, which, in case you don't know, normally 6-hour drive, give or take, depending on traffic. Could be longer than that. You would be able to get from San Francisco to LA in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. You could get there with a Hyperloop. So that's why this technology is important. Going forward next year, they're going to have another annual competition. This next year, though, Elon Musk did post saying that the next track is going to be 6 miles long, and it's going to have curves in it as well. So they're really upping the game. 10-kilometer vacuum tunnel with a curve. So it's going to up it quite a bit. Hopefully that pushes the design forward, and we'll get to see where that's going to take us. And I'm all for the Hyperloop. I think it would be great. Who knows if we'll see it in any of our lifetimes, but the possibility's there. If we decide to invest in it, but you need design and you need it pushed forward like this competition does. That's the Hyperloop pod competition. We do have some information about that up at Digital Trends. You can follow along, bring yourself up to date on it. Pretty cool technology. We'll see if it ever comes to fruition. All right. Some other technology. We're kind of bouncing over here talking about some high-end technology right now, some different things that are happening in artificial intelligence, certainly something that we bring up a lot. The advent of AI, how it's going to be used, how we're interacting with it, certainly something to discuss on a number of different levels. There is a group that I have discussed on here before, and I just wanted to bring attention to it because it's talking about this intersection of AI and art and creativity. Where's the balance in there? Can artificial intelligence ever be as creative as humans? Is that something where you have the utmost job security because artificial intelligence can't match us on that thinking abstract, using that? Or can you take a machine and train it and have it do just as good a job? And right now we're talking about the music side of it. There is a group called the Databots that I've talked about before. It's a YouTube channel run by two musicians. There's a coder, CJ Carr, and Zach Zukowski. And what we're going to do here in just a second is I'm going to play this for you, and I want to talk about what this platform is. So the Databots is a 24/7 neural network, and they had a heavy metal station that they were using before. Now they have come up with a different way to do this. They've actually put out a heavy metal album. What they've done, and what we're going to be playing here for you, is actually they took an album from Miles Davis, I believe it was, and actually trained it by listening to this over and over. Then after it listened to it over and over, they were able to then, Coltrane over and over, and then they had this machine, this neural network, take that and extrapolate from that what it thought jazz music was. And again, this is looking at that intersection of AI, creativity, humans, who can do it better. So I want to play just a bit of it for you. This is streaming 24/7. This is an example of AI jazz. Very similar to John Coltrane. So that's what it is. That's an artificial intelligence network. That's its interpretation of jazz. What do you think about that? Are you in for the AI jazz revolution, or maybe we're not quite there yet? So if you listen to it long enough, it streams 24/7 constantly. And they've got that going. They've got their death metal station going, but all kind of analyzing that. I think it's an interesting experiment to see where we go with this, how artificial intelligence can directly interact with humans. That is something to take a look at, something to listen to. And you can check that out also at digitaltrends.com. All right, the final thing that I want to talk about is, again, that interaction of humans and robotics and where we're going with this, and in particular with the world of sports. I think we can all agree, if you are a sports fan, if you've watched any kind of game ever, everybody gets mad at the refs at some point because the refs are imperfect. They're people, they make mistakes. Sometimes, it doesn't matter what side you're on. Two people can watch a basketball game rooting for the exact opposite side, and everybody will be mad at the refs. Same thing goes in baseball. In that strike zone where you have the umpire who handles that and is taking care of handling whether it's a strike or a ball. Well, there's a contract that has been initiated, a 3-year test run that's going on with the Atlantic League, which is a Major League Baseball subsidiary. So this is a minor league baseball right here. And over this weekend, they tested it out, and we had the first instance of a manager getting kicked out for disputing a robot's call. So Frank Viola, who's the pitching coach for the High Point Rockers, and that's part of the minor league system for baseball, they have this system called TrackMan. And what TrackMan does is TrackMan is actually taking a look and deciding whether or not it's a strike or a ball. And in theory, this should be something you cannot argue about. It's machine learning, it's understanding, it's tracking this. I mean, it's high-end technology to where it should be no question whether something's a strike or a ball, and this would, in theory, eliminate that issue that we have when it comes to baseball with this robotic umpire. Well, here's a perfect example of how that's really not going to work out that well, because it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a robot doing it or not, somebody's still going to be mad about it. And this is a manager who was kicked out, again, Frank Viola. But I think the idea of it is, it's interesting, and I want to know what people think about that. I think there's a larger thing to think about with this of, yeah, that removes, in theory, the imperfection of calls, but that's also part of the game. That's also part of anything in sports, where you want to have that human interaction, or do you not? Do you want just to be like, nope, this says it's out of bounds, that is it? Probably depends on which side you're on at any given point, whether you're for that being a strikeout or for that being a ball, and that's probably going to be what it is. I don't think you're going to be able to change that human nature aspect of it, but something to think about. We'll see how the advent of AI and robotics are going to interact with us in the sports world, and that's what we just like talking, seeing how this technology is constantly changing, how it's going to interact with us, how it's going to affect our lives, and how people adapt to it. Because no matter what, I think you're still going to get a manager that's going to dispute it. All right. Continuing on here with Digital Trends Live, we like to bring you up to date on all kinds of different technology. We like to talk about everything, so we like to have discussions with you. And that's one of the great things about being able to broadcast live and have you there joining us in the chat. And we like to just keep you informed on all kinds of different things, and that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm Greg Nibbler. We are now joined by Claire Tompkins, the co-founder and CEO of Future Family. Hello, Claire.
Hey, Greg. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to talk about this. This is something, what you're working on affects so many different people. I think we probably all know somebody who has been affected by this, but I want you to just, if you could, bring people up to date and give a little bit of your history and what prompted you to co-found this company and what problems you're solving.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, it's one of the fundamental problems and issues out there today. For the first time ever in 2016, more women gave birth in their 30s than in their 20s. So in the United States, we really hit a tipping point when it comes to fertility. And it was right around the time that I was thinking about starting this company. I have 3 kids, all 3 of them were born with IVF. I'm definitely one of those women who started to have kids in their 30s, mid to late. And my pathway with my husband was through IVF, through fertility treatment. And in that process, I came face to face with the cost and complexity of the current system. And that led to Future Family.
And that cost is tremendous. For anybody who doesn't know, can we give just maybe a little bit of an example to understand like how big of a deal this is? Because we do see the shifting trends and women giving birth later on in their life, in the 30s, and that price is so high.
Yeah, and often it's obviously an unplanned expense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that you're going to need fertility treatment until it happens. And IVF in the U.S., all-in cost, which includes the clinic cost as well as medication and sometimes diagnostic lab work, is averaging around $20,000 per cycle. And in some cases, you may need more than one cycle. So it's a significant financial undertaking for couples, and that's really the pain point that we're solving at Future Family.
So let's talk about how you're going about that. What different aspects of it you decided to tackle, where you saw some issues that you could actually do better at?
Yeah, so I mean, that is one of the biggest, stresses. You're already in a situation where, you're facing something potentially stressful. You want to have a child. It's not easy. So from our perspective, we designed what we think of as the first stress-free way to pay for IVF. We have highly customized personal fertility loans that offer the absolutely lowest rates in industry and are packaged with our proprietary coaching service. So you don't just get sort of a financial product from Future Family with a very low monthly payment. You also are getting a dedicated fertility coach on our platform to help you with every dimension of this journey. Everything from IVF prep to tips on what questions to ask your doctor, to medication ordering, training and administration, daily check-ins, support services, emotional support, the whole package. And that's what we offer every single one of our clients.
Which that's tremendous. I mean, it's obviously a very personal thing when someone's going through that. Being the most personal thing, probably one of the most personal things you could go through. So I think that access is probably great. How's the response been so far? What have you seen people reply to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of the more gratifying things. I mean, I have 3 young kids, and running a startup obviously takes a lot of time and energy. I think for me, it is the personal notes, it's the baby pictures that we get from our clients, it's the ways that we're helping people start families. This is increasingly going to be a common way for people in the US to start families, right? If you go to Europe, already 10% of all babies that are born in countries like Denmark are IVF. That's what's coming to the US. It'll be 10%, it'll be 20, it'll be 30. And so I think we're excited to be on the frontier of helping people navigate this very modern way to start a family.
Seeing where you're at, right now, and with everything you're offering, with this platform, where do you see this growing and changing? I mean, you just said that you anticipate that that's going to be more and more common here for the United States. How do you think care and service is going to change with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we hope we're going to be on the cutting edge here of helping to bring down the cost. So clearly that today, we think that we're saving couples thousands of dollars on every IVF cycle with the medication discounts that we bring, the laboratory discounts, our proprietary clinic network, and obviously our very low rate plans. But the goal is to continue to bring that cost down and introduce more innovative solutions into the market. I think you're also going to see the rise in services like genetic testing, already very common, that has been very effective in reducing miscarriage and helping couples reduce the number of cycles that they need.
So talking about the cost, like you say, there's somebody out there right now who's watching this show, and they're trying to have a child, and they want to get started with this. What would their first steps be to get started with Future Family?
Yeah, so that's something that we've given a lot of thought to. We actually now are able to take clients from the very earliest stage of their journey, where they might be TTC, trying to conceive, and looking for options. And you can actually come to Future Family and sign up, and you'll get opportunity to talk to one of our fertility coaches as a free consult just to get information. And we're actually able to also take our clients through a clinic matching program. So one of the first steps here is to figure out if you're a good candidate for IVF, which we can help you figure out, and then to get matched to one of the top clinics in the US. And so we have a nationwide premier network of IVF clinics that have all gone through our review process, have great statistics, outcomes, really highly trained doctors. And so we can help you take that very first step.
Talking about that, with your network of all of these different doctors and clinics, how do you curate those? How do you go out and find new clinics to bring on?
Yeah, that's a great question, because of course it's still being an early sort of boutique industry. That's something that we got feedback from a lot of our users on the platform. It's like, oh gosh, well, how do I find a fertility clinic? And our response was, well, let's make that a little easier for you. So we ask our clients 5 to 6 questions that can all be filled out online. What's important to you in terms of where the clinic is located? Is it cost? Is it reputation? Is it familiarity with certain scenarios like egg donor, third party, LGBTQ friendly, et cetera? And then once we have those answers, we have, of course, the ability to serve up options within network. And those clinics are curated based on the quality of the clinics, the quality of the reviews, the both public and private data on outcomes, and also reviewed by our medical advisory board.
Wow. So it's highly curated and highly reviewed before somebody comes on board.
I went through this personally, and I know the challenges of trying to figure out who you're going to trust with your fertility care. And so, I think as with a lot of things in the U.S., it's hard to find a doctor. Usually ask your friends, hey, I just moved to San Francisco. Who's a good doctor? And I think in the fertility space, obviously, not everyone's going through it. So who do you turn to? And it's a service that we're really proud to offer, is clinic matching or doctor matching on our platform.
I think that's great. Anything that's going to make it an easier process and just to help people, get through that, because nobody wants to go through those hurdles. I mean, that's such a tremendous stress, no matter what no matter what you're doing. And it sounds like you're getting people over those hurdles into like the actual things they need to be doing. And that's great. So for somebody who wants to join, again, what's the best place for them to go to start off?
Yeah, so if someone wants to join, it's easy to find us. We're at, futurefamily.com. And you can go today, get started, and you'll be able to talk to a fertility coach the same day. We'll also help you get transparent pricing on everything involved in your medical journey. And of course, we're here to support you pretty much every step of the way.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live to talk about your platform. Congratulations on getting it launched. Sounds like you're solving a lot of problems for a lot of people, and best of continued success.
Greg, thanks for having me.
So again, that's here on Digital Trends Live, getting to talk about great stories like that, about somebody who saw a problem and then goes out and solves it. And that's I think, fascinating. And that's something that can really help out a lot of people. We probably all know somebody who would be involved in this, especially with the changing tides, as she said, on how people are going to be having children. This sounds like it's something that's really at the forefront. We like to talk about technology that is at the forefront, and usually we talk about some of the great things with it, and there's also sometimes some negatives associated with it. And that's what we're going to be discussing next, is an article that came up at Digital Trends. We brought it up here a couple of times today, talking about the effects on the environment that space tourism is going to have and how that could change things. We get excited about certain aspects of technology, and then sometimes it's important to step back and say, well, there's a few other things that could affect. So that's what we're going to discuss. We have Georgina Torbett, who's going to be joining us to talk about that. Her article's up right now. We've got a lot of articles on the space industry, but this one I'm really excited to discuss. And we can do this while we're broadcasting live, so drop in your comments, your questions, whatever you want to bring up about this specific topic. And we'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for being here with us. We love having discussions about technology with you. And in particular, over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about space technology, whether it's the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing or the advent of all of this new commercial space interest, from Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin to Elon Musk and SpaceX, Virgin Galactic. All of that's exciting technology, but it's time to think a little bit more about what the effects of that could actually be. The more that we're going to see this happen, I think it's important we all understand that. And joining us right now, we have one of our writers making her debut here on Digital Trends Live. It's Georgina Torbett. Hello.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I want to say just really quick, this is the first time Georgina and I have actually talked. Huge fan of your work at Digital Trends. I love your articles. They're always interesting technology, always thought-provoking. And this one in particular, I think a lot of people are going to find interesting because it's an aspect that a lot of us haven't been thinking about when it comes to this? You get all excited, like, oh yeah, people can go into space, but what is the actual cost of that? And maybe just have you kind of walk us through that, like walk us through this article and what some of the major concerns are.
Sure. Well, when I started looking into this, I was first thinking in terms of like carbon dioxide reduction, as you would think in terms of planes or other transport, and like what the carbon cost of space launches would be. But actually, it turns out that's a relatively minor problem because rocket launches are so much more rare than things like the aviation industry. The total amount of carbon produced by rocket launches is fairly minimal. But it turns out there's a whole different problem with the environmental impacts of these launches, particularly in terms of the upper atmosphere. So one of the big problems is that as rockets burn kerosene fuel, they produce chlorine and other chemicals, and this chlorine is directed directly into the atmosphere, and it actually destroys the ozone molecules. So the ozone layer, which keeps our planet protected, is being destroyed. And as well as the chlorine, there are also other chemicals that are released, things like what's called black carbon and aluminium oxide, which form a sort of protective layer around the atmosphere, and they trap heat. And so actually, interestingly, on the surface, this results in cooler temperatures on the Earth's surface, but it means that we're heating the whole atmosphere. And that actually comes with its own set of problems. One of the big issues, in fact, about this is that there's just not a massive amount of research. So we're still not quite sure what the long-term effects of all these launches are going to be. And it just seemed like now is the time to start talking about this before space tourism becomes a massive issue, before the number of launches gets higher and higher. It seems like now we should be thinking about the environmental impact of these launches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that with any kind of technology, at the advent, it's really easy to get excited about it, really easy to think, look at all the advantages, look at the fun stuff, but it's important to know that. And I think we should have learned that by now with some of our other issues that we've caused to the environment in general, or just the effects of technology. And so with this, I mean, you bringing that to light. So it's basically like injecting this right into the atmosphere every time a rocket goes through there, injecting in these chemicals that are destroying the ozone. So where does that effect start to become, like, to the breaking point? Or clearly we're just, at the advent of this, we're just at the start of this, but where does it become something where it's really going to affect the environment and the climate?
Sure. Well, current estimates are that rocket launches account for about 0.1% of depletion of the ozone layer. So this is a small amount at the moment, 1/10 of 1%. But if we imagine that in the next, say, decade or so, that the number of launches could go up by a factor of 10, which is entirely possible given how many sort of satellite launches and other launches are going to take place in the next few years, then we start to talk about 1% of the ozone layer being destroyed by these launches. And I mean, I think that's on the scale where you start to look at when we banned CFCs in the late 80s on the basis of the damage being done to the ozone layer. That was due to a 3% reduction in ozone from CFCs. And when rocket launches could be accounting for 1% reduction, we're starting to talk in the same sort of ballpark. And so I think the other argument for addressing this as an issue is that it's not an issue right now, but it surely will become worse in the future. And so it seems like now would be a good time to start thinking about these issues.
Yeah, before that, I mean, because we do see all of these, all of these companies getting involved in the space industry now. I mean, it used to be just scientific purposes, generally speaking, or putting in satellites. And we've seen this ramp up so much. What are some of the other concerns, I guess, with that? And I'm taking a look at your article, too, just talking about the ethical side of it on the advantages versus the disadvantages of all of these new rockets going into space.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to point out that every single person I spoke to for this story was categorically in favor of rocket launches for the sake of scientific research. I think people accept that that's a necessary part of understanding more about our world and our universe is going out and exploring. I think the ethical issue comes when we're talking about space tourism particularly. When you hear, the ISS is going to start accepting space tourists soon, and projects like Virgin Galactic are going to offer suborbital flights So that's flights not quite out into space, but the edge, paying customers soon. And I think it changes the ethical balance when it stops being about research for the betterment of everyone and it starts being about a holiday for the smallest of elites, like the very richest people who will be able to go and experience the wonder of what I'm sure is an amazing experience to be in space, but at the cost of these environmental issues that they're causing. And I think that's where the ethical issue comes in. It's who has the right to cause damage to the environment for the sake of space tourism.
Are there any alternatives, I guess, fuel alternatives that are known right now that could help mitigate some of this?
Like there are a lot of experiments going on looking for cleaner fuels and also safer fuels, in that rocket fuel is obviously pretty dangerous stuff, and like companies have a vested interest in making that safer. The problem is the safety is a research focus, the environmental impact not so much, because there's just almost no regulation about rocket emissions. The companies have no incentive to look for more environmentally friendly options because, at least as it stands, they lose nothing by continuing with what works. So I think like there certainly will be developments in rocket fuel that will make it better incrementally, but to really approach the issue seriously, I think we will need international regulation at some time.
I think we certainly have enough evidence in history of companies, if you don't push them in a direction, they're not going to do it if they don't have a reason not to. And a lot of that comes down to people, just enough people saying something about it and having knowledge about it that shifts the industry. And hopefully that's something that can happen with this, because this is the time to think about this before we have a giant problem. Again, we've learned it too many times the other way around. Well, it's a thought-provoking article. It's really great. It's up there right now at Digital Trends. Everyone can go read it. And Georgina, thank you very much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Greg.
And yeah, check out her article. Check out all of her articles there at Digital Trends. I mean, really great stuff that Georgina has on there. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. We love being here with you every day. We love talking to you. We love bringing you up to date on all the tech headlines and news. Just kind of take a look back at what we talked about. We had Nicole Rainey here at the top of the show, bringing you up to date on some tech headlines. Kind of talked about some of the Marvel Phase 4 news. Had to. And then we had the co-founder of Empowered Eyewear, Sean McGinley, on the show. We had Davin Matthews talking about those Hasselblad images and also talking about that new Sony camera. We had Frederick Thomason, CEO and founder of Konsus. We had Claire Tompkins, co-founder and CEO of Future Family, and then Georgina Torbett joining us as well. All right, and that was all just on today's episode. Tomorrow, we've got another full docket of shows for you here, so lots to discuss, full docket of guests and discussions that we're gonna be having. Really excited to bring that to you, and we do that every day here at Digital Trends, where we broadcast live, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode.